Today I interviewed the living legend, which is Mick Lowes for Newcastle Fans TV, and today we discussed some of the stories from back down the years from some of the more colourful players to have represented Newcastle United. Tino Asprilla.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. One of my all-time highlights is goal in Zagreb.
Yeah.
Because that was the catalyst to Champions League football. And the greatest Tino Asprilla story was the one where they took a call one day at the ground and Dee, the receptionist, had a guy on the other end of the phone who said, "Hi, I'm ringing from a sports shop in the Metro Centre. Have you got a Georgian guy by the name of Tino who's just signed for you?" And she said, "Yes." He said, "Well, he's in my shop buying a pair of football boots, and I've just said to him, I'm not sure that a professional player who plays for Newcastle United needs to buy his own boots." And she said, "Put him on the phone," and he put Asprilla on the phone, and Dee said, "Tino, come back here, we've got plenty of pairs of boots for you. You don't need to buy your own boots."
Crackers, absolute crackers. I love them.
And that's without mentioning the advertising hoarding and kicking the Gallagher to death.
That was absolutely crazy, wasn't it?
Bonkers.
Absolutely crazy.
But great guy. And funny enough, somebody sent me the New Radicals remix of I hadn't heard for years and years when we did
Mick, I've been on about this.
And I'd forgotten how many goals Asprilla scored on that cover.
You know, I recorded that on tape. I used to work, my first ever job was working in an accounts department at 490 in Spennymoor, and I used to play that song, rewind it back, and played it. And when that tape got chewed, I was absolutely distraught. It was 2 years it was done, wasn't it?
Yeah.
With the goals on for both.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. I'll see if we can get a copy of that, because that would be brilliant to have on the channel. Brilliant to have on my phone as well for the away days. David Batty.
Fantastic kid. Loveliest man in the world. David Batty, famous for, we always used to laugh, all he ever wanted to do. David Batty, great footballer, but was never really in love with football.
Yeah,
one of those. And all he wanted to do was play with his kids. So we used to stand at Maiden Castle after they finished training, and he used to say to them after they were leaving, "Can you spare me 2 minutes to have a word about the match at the weekend or whatever?" And they were so obliging, they were lovely. But Bats, all he ever used to come out, and we used to say, "Here's Bats, watch this." So he used to walk up, and he'd be first out, he'd be changed in no time, because he still lived down Leeds way. And he used to say, "Have you got 2 minutes, Bats? Just have a chat about the weekend." "No, Tar, I'm going to play with kids." "No, Tar, I'm going to play with kids." All he wanted to do was get back to his kids and play in the garden. It was brilliant.
Such a
grounded, a lovely kid. Yeah, lovely fella.
Rob Lee.
I mean, everyone knows the Rob Lee stories. Great player. For me, people always argue about it, but pound for pound, the best buy we ever made. And the famous story about Keegan told him that Newcastle was closer to London than Middlesbrough because he was going to go to Middlesbrough. I mean, they're the old stories. But in terms of £700,000, scary. Absolutely scary for what that kid did for this football.
If we could only just get another one of the likes of him and Batty in midfield.
Yeah. So you could get, off the top of my head, you could get 47 Joe Lintons for him, or Rob Lees for Joe Linton, or whatever. Drives you mad.
Come on, Aaron Hughes.
Best pound for pound player. I said this too. I did a thing yesterday. My favourite player.
Yeah.
Pound for pound, my favourite player.
Met him in Toys R Us.
Rob Lee. In terms of a signing, best player. But in terms of what he brought to the football club, did a job at right back, did a job at left back, did a man-for-man job on Totti in Rome, played centre half, loveliest man in the world. Aaron Hughes, my favourite.
Undervalued, though, even at the time.
Beyond belief.
I used to have an Aaron Hughes.
Beyond belief. I've got a mate who's a Fulham fan, and I posted one time that he was, for me, the greatest player in a strange way that I ever came across at Newcastle, Aaron Hughes. And my mate texted me back, die-hard Fulham fan, said, he was likewise at Fulham. Everybody loved him at Fulham because the kid is just so genuine. It's true.
Going from one extreme possibly to the other, Joey Barton.
Never had a problem with Joey Barton, other than Joey Barton was Joey Barton. When he wanted to play football was great, but had an awful lot going on elsewhere. What he did at Liverpool that time with Shearer was poor, and I think he'd probably be the first to admit that on occasions he let himself down, he let his standards slip. I
think he's done at Fleetwood.
Well,
it was a strange one, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, but you see, that tells you everything. You see, when I said about David Batty wasn't really ever in love with football.
Yeah.
And there's a long list of them. They're just very good at it, but they're not particularly in love with it. Joey Barton is in love with football, and you don't take the job as manager of Fleetwood unless you're in love with football, So for people to accuse him, he might have had his foibles, he might have had his quirks and his character traits that weren't great, but you could never accuse him of not being in love with football. You could never accuse him of not being a football man. And like I say, the fact that he's at Fleetwood now tells you that.
He seemed to care as well, and that's a lot of the time.
But it was just a bit misguided. It was just a bit mischanneled. It was whatever. But he's a decent kid.
Last one, when I was interested in Craig Bellamy. It's a great football, like on the pitch.
Exactly the same answer I've just given you about Joey Barton, and it's weird because they're similar in so many ways. And he was probably more obsessed with football than Barton or most people I've ever come across. He used to when he was at Norwich, used to fly himself to Holland to watch Ajax train, to watch Ajax play. Because he was so engrossed in football. He's a proper footballing kid.
Because you just see him on the pitch.
Again, it was mischanneled. Again, it was people took him the wrong way. But he and at the end of the day, whatever their misdemeanors, whatever their whatever mistakes they might make, or however their character comes across, I can forgive all of that if I know they love football. Because not enough people in the game these days love football. Not enough of them care. Bellamy cared. Barton cared. These people care. They care whether they win or lose. They care if Newcastle United win or lose. They cared if Newcastle United were relegated or survived. They cared. Not enough people care anymore. So you can accuse them of being this, that, and the other.
I love the characters, mate.
But the characters are just not in the game anymore. They're not in the game. The leaders aren't in the game anymore. It's weird to think we're not talking about some bygone age. We're not talking about the 1890s. We're not talking about the 1950s. No. We're not talking about the 1960s and the 1970s. We're talking about 10 years ago. We're talking about 15 years ago, and it's completely gone. All the character has gone out of the game.
Because you've seen by some of them names, there have been names that I'd have in my starting 11. If I was to pick an all-time, I could pick anybody. Those would be in it. So it's great to look back. I just want to say thank you ever so much.
No worries.
I appreciate it. Like I say, growing up, I had this man on, even when Sky Sports, even when I was watching them at home, muting Sky Sports, having this man on, or down the youth centre, having this man blasting away with his commentaries whilst we were playing football. Absolute legend, and totally not the privilege. Thanks a lot, Mick.